Hello everybody, welcome to another Snapshot Wednesday. Here we are back in Snapshot number 22W42A. What a good number to start out on for 1.20 development? Well, actually no. You see, if I look in my inventory here to get some of the new features, what? New tabs? And also, what if I searched for a camel spawn egg or maybe a hanging sign? No, these things do not exist. And the question is why? The answer to that can actually be found on this Minecraft page right over here. Major and minor versions in Minecraft Java Edition. Going forward in blah, 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 blah. Basically, what this is saying is that there will be more minor versions and less major versions. So we will get a major version 1.19, 1.20, 1.21 every year, but but a lot of times in between them, every couple months, we're going to get a smaller version, a 1.19.3, which is the one that is coming out immediately soon. So what does that mean for Snapshot season we are now in? Well, if we look over here, you can see that some experimental features will now be available through built-in experimental data packs, which means you cannot now affect older worlds, and it just generally makes it so that you will have to enable more settings than just playing on a snapshot to be able to get some of the new features, which is very, very cool, very interesting, and very similar to the Bedrock edition of how things have been done for a while. So any worlds that have experimental features in them will be labeled experimental, and you cannot toggle it off, but you can create a new world and toggle on experimental features. So this is just kind of a new setting when creating worlds. But besides the experimental features, the two other new additions are bundles are available as an experimental feature, and there is a panorama scroll speed accessibility option. So we're going to look at that. So if I come over here in my world and press escape, save and quit to title, and come out to here, you can see this is the panorama right here, and we are scrolling. We're going from one way to another way. But if we change this, we could maybe turn it down to say 10%. And then when we click in this, look at this. This is basically a still image now. So this is actually very, very cool. I actually really like it. But I do think I am going to keep it up at 100% just because I like the feel of this. It's pretty good movement. Though I do feel like almost I would prefer it if you could go faster than this. Maybe if the default speed isn't 100, maybe it's like 50 and you can crank it up to like longer than that. I don't know, because I feel like even as cool and fast as this is, maybe a bit faster could be to some people's pace. I have no idea. But I just do think that would be an interesting to the addition of the game anyways, because you do have to realize FOV can go all the way down to 30. No one plays with that, so it's not necessarily to add it for use, but to have it just to be fun. But let's go ahead and look at these new experimental features. So I have my 22W42A world up. Let's just create a new one really quick and call it 22W42A2 just because. And then let's switch it over in creative, do all this stuff. And now that that is good, we can go into these, and you can see for data packs, there is now update 1.20 and bundles. These are two different packs that you can use, and I'm just going to drop both of them in. So we're going to have the experimental bundle item, which also means that we are probably going to be getting bundles in the future too. Just want to say that bundles are indeed coming soon, and we also have update 1_20, which means these are the experimental features for 1.20. So I'm sure the bundle is probably going to come in 1.19.3, whereas all the 1.20 features are going to come in later down the line. And it is, of course, telling us that bad things could potentially happen, but who cares about that? Let's go ahead and create this world. And yes. And here we are in the new world. It is now loading in, and this is apparently what 1.20 looks like. So thanks for watching. No, just kidding. So now let's actually look at some of these new features. If I go ahead and open up my inventory, of course, there is this new spawn eggs tab and this crafting tab, which of course were not here before. You know, those were there in the snapshot anyways. But let's see if we can get some of these new things. So what if we searched up for a camel? If I knew how to spell, that would be nice. And of course, now we have a camel. Now let's look at this. Oh yes, very cool, because actually, guess what? Camel is the next thing on the changelog for us to look at. So back over here on the changelog, we now have added camel. Isn't that wonderful? And we just saw it there in the game. So feel free to read this if we like, but I'm going to switch back over into the game and show you what is going on. So the first thing to know about camels is that you can equip them with a saddle and then ride them with two people. So if I go ahead and mount this, there's of course me on this, but there's also a seat for another player. Now you can see this camel also has a laying down texture, and I also don't think that you could convince an animal or something else to end up riding on a camel, at least not without use of commands or something like that. So let's hop back on this, and I can immediately tell it where to go. I'm pressing W, I'm controlling it, right? I can tell the camel where to go, even though I haven't tamed it or anything. All I'm doing is just riding it with a saddle. So it seems to be a reasonably agreeable mob. But where do you go if you want to find these guys naturally in your world? Well, the answer is desert villages. So if we go ahead and locate a desert village really quick, and it's loading, there it is, and we teleport to it, we should end up here, and there might in fact be a camel. And look at that, right behind us there is a camel. You cannot fake this. So if we go ahead and equip this guy with a saddle, boom, we could ride it. And if we press E, we could of course take the saddle off, and I'm somehow still riding it. The question is, can I ride it? Okay, so I can. You can ride camels when they're not wearing a saddle, but of course I cannot control it right now. I'm pressing W, and it is not doing anything. But if I went ahead and put the saddle back on it, then I could, when I'm pressing W, by the way, I just told it to stand up, so it just stood up. And now I can run around and do all of these wonderful things. Now, the next thing to notice about camels is that they are tall. I mean, look at this. It's much taller than me, and I am like 2 full blocks tall. So if we looked at this guy's hitbox when he is laying down, of course, his hitbox is only about 1 block tall. But if I go ahead and ask him to stand up, you can see his hitbox is about 2.5 blocks tall. So he will be able to walk through some openings, but not all of them. Now, the next thing it says on the changelog is that camels are graceful yet grumpy. I am not seeing any of that in here right now. The grumpy part, I believe, is that they're supposed to be able to lay down whenever they want, which we have seen. They just kind of randomly lay down. But I have been able to stand them up. It says when they're laying down, it can be hard to get them to stand up again, but I have not had that issue quite yet. But it says camels can either walk slowly, which I assume if I stop sprinting right now, there it is. So I was not sprinting then. I have sprint toggled on, which is why that was happening. So this is the walking speed of camels normally, but then if I sprint, they can do this. But this, of course, does use their stamina. You can see camels also have this little jump ability. So if I hold down the space bar, that bar down at the bottom, you see it boosted up, and then he had to walk for a few seconds afterwards because, of course, it tires at a camel to do a leap like that. But if I held it down all the way to the yellow, we could get a solid jump out of this. So this, of course, means we need to do a test. So if I made myself a little platform out here and then with a jump in the middle, so let's just go ahead and break like that many blocks. Who thinks that the camel can jump that many blocks? Let's see. So if I go forward and then spacebar, okay, that was my fault. Let's try again. Okay, here we go again, running forward, spacebar, jump. Okay, I would have made that. So I think the answer is, yeah, it can jump really far with this feature. And of course, now we have a load of camels hanging around down here. And the last thing you need to know about camels is that they can walk over fences with much ease. Now, moving on over here to the jungle biome, let's look at something coming from this block right here, bamboo. We now have a bamboo wood type coming to the game. So over here, we now have the bamboo wood set, and here's all the information to see about that on the changelog. But I think the best way to show this off in-game is going to be giving you the blocks by themselves. So we have bamboo planks, bamboo door, bamboo trapdoor, bamboo sign, bamboo stairs, slab, fence, fence gate, button, and pressure plate. So this is the entire bamboo wood set. I think it looks really good, especially with the holes in the trapdoor and the door. It all looks really smooth. These are great textures. And yes, this is the entire bamboo set in its entirety. Or is it? But we're going to talk about that a little bit later. So when you are out exploring the jungle, how are you going to craft these things? And the answer is you're going to place down your crafting table, get some bamboo up for yourself, and then put it in a crafting table like so, and you get yourself bamboo planks. Now, if we went and made a load of these, of course, it is a 4-to-1 ratio for bamboo to bamboo planks, so they are reasonably expensive, but bamboo is so incredibly renewable that it doesn't actually really matter. Now, you can, of course, make your slabs and everything from here, and that new other block that I showed you a second ago can be crafted just like this. And of course, the bamboo mosaic has its own slab and stair variants. Bamboo mosaic looks like this. And this is what the stair and slab version of it looked like. It is a reasonably trippy texture with the whole swirl, but I think it can look cool when done in large patterns, especially as a floor. Now, if you're really observant, you probably noticed that there are still two things missing from the bamboo wood set. And that would, of course, be the bamboo boat and bamboo chest boat. But these are not boats and chest boats. These are rafts and chest rafts. And so, of course, this will act like a normal chest boat, the way it normally works. But these now don't even have walls. They are rafts. And they work just like normal boats in water. So again, these do not act any differently than normal boats. They just look reasonably different. And I actually really like this texture. So that's all there is to be said about bamboo for now, but now we get to move on to my favorite 1.20 feature, the chiseled bookshelf. I know, an empty bookshelf. So exciting. But if we jump over to the changelog and scroll down a little bit to the chiseled bookshelf section, you can actually see why it's so exciting. If you want to know how to craft this absolute wonder, you have to only go over to a crafting table and put 6 planks and 3 slabs in like this, and you will get yourself a chiseled bookshelf. Now, what's so cool about this, you might ask? Well, the cool part comes when you start putting things in them, because you can put any type of book, up to 6 in one bookshelf, inside of these things, and this leaves such a good aesthetic. For instance, you can also take them out by right clicking, so you can take these things out, and they're also interactive with redstone, so you can now get redstone signals from the amount of books in your bookshelf, and it just makes your library feel so much more complete when there's actually books being taken off the shelves. It makes it feel like there's actually a storage, there's a use to bookshelves now, and there's also a little bit more storytelling that you can make in your builds. And of course, you can see if I filled one up with books and then broke it, it would drop all of the books. So to show off this redstone functionality, you can see if I put a book in there, it will extend the redstone signal. And of course, if I fill it all the way up, you get a much stronger signal. Now, at the moment, it doesn't seem to matter what type of book I put in there. It's the same no matter if I put an enchanted book in or a non-enchanted book or a book and quill in, but it is possible that this could get more interesting in the future. And of course, you get the opposite effect when you take something out. So if I took something out, you see it would decrease in a redstone signal. So this completely full bookshelf, if I started to pull it out, then I could just decrease the signal all the way back down to 1. But enough about all of this stuff. Let's move on to the next feature, which is another aesthetic feature, hanging signs. So here is what the changelog has to say about these hanging signs, but I'm going to show all of these things to you in the actual game. So this is what a hanging sign looks like. It is a pretty clean inventory texture, but I can also hang it from the roof and I get this texture right here, and it is hanging right there, but you can also place it on the side. So if I place it farther down, you can see there's this pole coming out and it's hanging right there. Now, a load of these makes it look like some sort of a Jacob's ladder setup or something like that, but you can place it on everywhere except on the ground. That is where you can only place normal signs. Another thing you could do with these signs is if you placed it on the side of a block and then broke that block, it would not actually die. So now you can get floating signs in the game as well. Hanging signs can also be hung from other hanging signs to get this cool texture right here. And if you hang a hanging sign from a fence post or something that has a similar shape, it will have these two chains attached in the middle instead of the normal 2 chains attaching on the sides. This all, I think, turns into a really useful functionality, but how do you craft these things? Well, if I go into a crafting table, you can see that the recipe is right here, and I can print it all out, and they apparently only stack up to stacks of 16, the same way that normal signs do. But the crafting recipe is right there for you. It is very actually logical considering how they look when they are hung up. Now, remember I said that if you place these on the side of a block, they will not pop when the block is broken? Well, the opposite is true from ones that are hanging. If I broke the hanging one, it would, of course, break. But this is a very true testament to the physics of Minecraft, in that they don't make sense. But we have now some new sounds for you guys, so let's go ahead and check those out. So there are now 3 new types of sounds that you can get from walking on top of wood planks. One is for overworld wood planks. One is for nether wood planks, and one is for bamboo planks. And these are all very cool and unique sounds just to add a little bit of differentiation into the game. Now on to some things that aren't necessarily new features, but are indeed changes. So the first one is the creative inventory tabs. You can see there's now building blocks, nature blocks, functional blocks, redstone blocks, tools and utilities, combat, consumables, crafting, and spawn eggs. And this is so that blocks will be ordered by material as much as possible. And by scrolling through this, I can see that we have the oak and then the spruce and then all the different wood types, followed by then different stone types. You can see all the deep slates are lobbed in together right here, and it just continues going and going. And same, I assume, with the nature blocks. You can see all of the skulk blocks are in a row right here. Same with the amethyst blocks, and this also works for the redstone blocks and everything like that. There are also some items that show up in more than one tab. For instance, the skulk sensor that we just saw. It's right here in the redstone tab, but it is also down here in the nature tab as well, because it definitely does fit into both of these categories. Some tabs have been renamed and collapsed into others, and there are also new search tabs such as the spawn egg. And the search tab will now list items sequentially grouped by the other tabs. So it basically is just a copy paste of all of the other tabs in the same thing. Another thing that has been done to the search part is petrified slabs have now been removed from the creative inventory, but they're still in the game, only accessible by commands now. And the changelog says that this is the first iteration in getting a better experience to the creative inventory. And feedback is very much required for this, for them to know whether or not it is good. So be sure to let them know on the Minecraft community feedback page or something like that. I personally think that these are great changes and definitely going in the right direction. Now, the next thing is another bit of a controversial issue. The chat previewing system has been tweaked once again. And I think for this, we need to come back over to the changelog to look at this. So let's scroll down and see what has to be done with chat. Now, the first thing is chat preview has been completely removed from the game. And the next thing is that chat messages deleted by server moderators will no longer be completely hidden. They'll just be replaced with this message has been deleted by the server. And they will be shown for at least 3 total seconds before being hidden. And the trust status indicators have been tweaked. There will no longer be a modified tag for server modified messages, and it has now been turned dark gray, and the not secure tag is now light gray and does not have an icon. And filtered messages will now be replaced with gray hashes that will say that the text has been filtered when hovered over. For some textual changes, here is what is happening. It is not a whole lot as far as I can tell, but I am not a technical player. So feel free to do with this information what you will. It's very interesting stuff, and you can see there is indeed a lot of it because we are not halfway done scrolling down this changelog. So feel free to pause the video and read this if you would like, or you can head on over to the changelog, which is linked in the description, this very page right here. And yeah, that is generally it, except for one small thing, which actually wasn't talked about in the changelog except right at the beginning, and that is bundles. Bundles right here do not seem to have been changed since their previous involvement in older snapshots, but they are actually back in experimental features, which hopefully means that we are finally going to get these guys back into the official vanilla game. And now, for the most exciting part of this snapshot, bug fixes, because boy are there a lot of them. We can scroll down and keep scrolling down and scroll down some more, and oh my goodness, it just keeps going. Look at all these bug fixes. This is absolutely insane. A total of 75 bug fixes, but who's counting? So without further ado, I think that is going to be it for this snapshot video. There will be more videos coming out on this channel in the very near future about testing all of these features and seeing what we can do with them. But for this video, that is going to be it. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time.